wish to go for a specialist degree, this is allowed. Now, for the postgraduate studies conducted by the ministry through the University of Bordeaux and the University of Mauritius, they are those postgraduate students who will be given, but at the same time, they will be working for the ministry. It's not a leave, but they will continue to earn their salary.
1246.
The House that in the public service there is a difference between a transfer and a change in posting. Concerning the mobility of public officers, although these terms are used interchangeably. I am informed that a transfer is normally resorted to when a public officer is offered appointment in parastatal bodies or in an approved service with the approval of the appropriate service commissions. Whereas a change in posting, which is commonly known as a transfer, refers to a movement of an officer in the same cadre from one ministry to another. It is presumed that the honourable member is, in fact, referring to the change in posting rather than the transfer of public officers. Mr. Speaker, sir, in line with its mandate, my ministry is responsible for the change in posting of officers in the following grade. Officer of Human Resource Management cadre, comprising manager, Human Resource Assistant Manager, Human Resource Senior, Human Resource Executive, Human Resource Executive, and officers of the General Service cadre, comprising Office Management Executive, Office Management Assistant, Higher Executive Officer, Confidential Secretary, Office Supervisor, Senior Word Processing Operator, Word Processing Operator, Management Support Officer, Head Office Auxiliaries. As regards the Ministry of Gender Equality, Child Development and Family Welfare, I am informed that changes in posting have been effected from January 2023 till date for a total of 10 officers, following their requests for such changes due to various reasons, ranging from a change in work environment, possibility to work nearer to their place of residence, to acquire additional work experience, as well as following requests from their respective ministries on ground of administrative convenience.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. D'après mes informations, 13 officiers ont été transférés, 3 autres ont été forcés de demander leur transfert et 4 officiers supplémentaires figurent sur la liste des prochains transferts. Je détiens la liste complète des transferts. Étant donné la sensibilité du ministère en question, le ministre peut-il informer la Chambre si son ministère envisage à entreprendre une enquête visant à déterminer s'il y a eu des transferts abusifs depuis l'entrée en fonction de l'actuel ministre? Je vous remercie.
My ministry has so far not received any representation from the officers who have requested for change in posting. Any officer who feels aggrieved of his posting may make representations to my ministry for consideration through his supervising officer.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, au cours de ces 9 derniers mois, 2 secrétaires permanents et 2 secrétaires confidentiels ont été transférés. Le ministre peut-il informer notre auguste Assemblée si les officiers transférés appartiennent exclusivement à une composante spécifique de la société mauricienne? Et également...
I would disallow. This is a very dirty question. I disallow this question. Yeah. So let's move to the next question.
B1247.
Mr. Speaker, sir, first of all, I would like once again to congratulate our athletes for their outstanding performances at the recent Indian Ocean Islands Games held in Madagascar. During my press conference held on 7 September 2023, I expressed my satisfaction regarding the performance of our athletes. They achieved the best medal haul in the history of our country on foreign soil, winning a total of 281 medals, including 91 gold, 87 silver, and 103 bronze medals. I'm pleased to inform the House that we have taken prompt action to credit the bank accounts of our 308 medalists and their 67 coaches with a total sum of 16 243 000 rupees. The cash prizes are as follows: 50,000 rupees for gold medalists, 40,000 rupees for silver medalists, and 20,000 rupees for bronze medalists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Minister mentioned reward money for coaches. May we know what is the quantum of the reward money paid to coaches? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Donc, comme le savons, sans coach, il n'y a pas de performance. Et donc, au niveau de l'État, au niveau de notre gouvernement, nous récompensons aussi les entraîneurs, les coachs. Et donc, pour les coachs, c'est un quantum de 40% de la somme allouée à une personne qui a eu, par exemple, une médaille d'or. Donc, c'est 40% de 50 000. Si son athlète a eu une médaille d'argent, c'est 40% de 40 000. Et si son athlète a eu une médaille de bronze, c'est 40% de 20 000. Et c'est un peu compliqué comme détail. Il y va sans dire que pour certains coachs, ils ont plusieurs athlètes et donc éventuellement la somme payée aux coachs aussi sont assez conséquentes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. There were also some other international competition recently in which Mauritian athletes perform very well. Can we know from the Minister, if ever he's got the information, whether reward money has been paid to these athletes or will be paid? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Before the Indian Ocean Island Games, there was the World Championship Para-Athletics in Paris and the Francophone Games in Congo, again, where our athletes did very well. Et donc, de mémoire, Monsieur le Président, par exemple, pour le championnat du monde de para-athlétisme à Paris, et donc notre para-athlète Noémie Alphonse, qui a remporté une médaille d'argent et une médaille de bronze, a eu une récompense de 1 350 000 roupies pour ses performances. L'athlète Giovanni Philippe, qui aussi a eu une médaille de bronze à cette même compétition, a été récompensé d'une somme de 450 000 roupies. Il y va sans dire que la liste est très longue parce que pour les Jeux de la francophonie, plusieurs athlètes, il y avait 12 médaillés en tout, eux aussi ont reçu leurs récompenses respectives. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. B1248.
Minister.
Avec votre permission, Monsieur le Président, je répondrai aux questions B1248 et B1252 ensemble, car elles portent sur le même sujet. Monsieur le Président, la contribution sociale généralisée, la CSG, est un système progressif et équitable qui a pour but de financer le paiement des prestations sociales, notamment celles des pensions. C'est à ce titre que la CSG a remplacé les cotisations au National Pension Fund, le NPF, au 1er septembre 2020. Conformément à la promesse faite par ce gouvernement, notre objectif est d'assurer à tous les retraités une pension décente. C'est justement à ce titre la mise en place de la CSG. La NPF n'étant n'étant absolument pas viable à long terme, notamment parce qu'il ne générait pas un retour sur investissement suffisant. En outre, de nombreux cotisants au NPF percevaient une pension d'un montant dérisoire, moins de 1000 roupies par mois. Sans apport financier complémentaire, qui peut bien vivre avec 1000 roupies par mois? Monsieur le Président, pour remédier à cette situation qui pénalisait injustement les plus vulnérables de notre société, nous avons annoncé et implémenté la CSG. Pour rappel, la CSG est un système universel dans lequel les salariés du secteur privé, les employés du secteur public et les travailleurs indépendants sont placés sur un pied d'égalité. Comme le sait cette auguste Assemblée, les cotisations à la CSG sont versées par les salariés et les employeurs. Le taux de cotisation pour un salarié dont le salaire de base ne dépasse pas 50 000 roupies par mois est de 1,5% pour le salarié et de 3% pour l'employeur. Ce taux est porté à 3% et 6% respectivement pour un salarié dont le salaire de base mensuel est supérieur à 50 000 roupies. Avec la CSG, les travailleurs dont le salaire de base est inférieur ou égal à 39 800 roupies, c'est-à-dire 90% de nos employés, cotisent moins que dans le cadre du NPF. Ceux qui ont les moyens cotisent un montant mensuel plus élevé pour contribuer à la pension de tous. Monsieur le Président, avec l'introduction de la CSG, le gouvernement a été en mesure de contenir les effets négatifs de la pandémie de la Covid-19 et de placer l'économie sur la voie d'une reprise robuste, durable et inclusive. En ce qui concerne la partie A de la question, dans le cadre de la CSG, 5,25 milliards de roupies ont été collectés au cours de l'exercice 2020-2021. 8,35 milliards de roupies au cours de l'exercice 2021-2022. 9,51 milliards de roupies ont été collectés dans l'exercice 2022-2023 et 2,47 milliards dans le premier trimestre de l'exercice 2023-2024, soit un total de 25,58 milliards de roupies. Monsieur le Président, en ce qui concerne la partie B de la question, la loi sur les contributions et les prestations sociales prévoit le versement des prestations suivantes. À partir de septembre 2020, les indemnités d'accident de travail pour les employés et les travailleurs indépendants enregistrés. À partir du 1er juillet 2022, une prestation de retraite CSG de 1000 roupies aux personnes âgées de 65 ans ou plus. Pour l'année financière 2022-2023, une allocation d'invalidité CSG mensuelle de 2500 roupies versée aux personnes souffrant d'un handicap compris entre 40 et 59%. Pour l'exercice financier 2022-2023, une allocation de revenus CSG de 1000 roupies versée à un employé et à un travailleur indépendant enregistré gagnant en revenus bruts mensuels allant jusqu'à 50 000 roupies, y compris un double paiement en décembre. Pour l'exercice financier 2023-2024, l'allocation de revenus CSG pour un employé ou un travailleur indépendant enregistré gagnant en revenus mensuels allant jusqu'à 25 000 roupies a été doublé à 2 000 roupies, tandis que le paiement de 1 000 roupies a été maintenu pour ceux qui gagnent plus de 25 000 roupies jusqu'à 50 000 roupies. À partir du 1er juillet 2023, une CSG Child Allowance de 2 000 roupies par enfant de moins de 3 ans, y compris un double paiement en décembre 2023, et l'Independent Scheme Grant de 20 000 roupies en tant que subvention unique pour un jeune adulte ayant atteint l'âge de 18 ans à partir du 1er janvier 2023. Monsieur le Président, en outre, les fonds de la CSG sont collectés par l'administration fiscale. La MRA est versée au Consolidated Fund, à partir duquel sont financés un certain nombre d'autres régimes ou mesures visant à apporter une aide financière aux travailleurs et à la population mauricienne, à savoir l'augmentation de toutes les pensions de base de 1000 roupies à partir de juillet 2022 et une nouvelle augmentation de 1000 roupies à partir de juillet 2023. Le paiement d'une allocation spéciale pour compléter le salaire minimum national et assurer un revenu minimum garanti fixé à 15 000 roupies dans le dernier budget. Une aide financière à des secteurs spécifiques pour le paiement de la compensation salariale. Le versement du régime de la prime à l'emploi, introduit au cours de l'exercice 2022-2023 pour intégrer dans la population active les jeunes Mauriciens âgés de 18 à 35 ans et les femmes âgées de moins de 50 ans. Dans le cadre de ce programme, une prime à l'emploi mensuelle pouvant aller jusqu'à 15 000 roupies est versée pendant la première année d'emploi. Le versement dans le cadre de la prime à l'emploi pour l'année financière 2023-2024 jusqu'à 15 000 roupies par mois pour les 2 premières années d'emploi des femmes et des personnes handicapées. Le remboursement de 5% du coût de la propriété jusqu'à un maximum de 500 000 roupies dans le cadre du Home Ownership Scheme pour un individu qui achète une maison, un appartement ou un terrain nu pour construire sa résidence. Le remboursement de 5% du montant du prêt déboursé jusqu'à un maximum de 500 000 roupies dans le cadre du Home Loan Payment Scheme, un particulier qui contracte un prêt au logement garanti pour la construction de sa résidence et un paiement de 1 000 roupies au titre du programme d'allègement du prêt au logement à un particulier qui a contracté un prêt au logement garanti d'un montant maximum de 5 millions de roupies. Mesdames et messieurs, la MRA et le ministère de la Sécurité sociale m'ont informé que le montant total déboursé pour le paiement de chaque prestation jusqu'en septembre 2023 est le suivant. CSG Income Allowance, 6,54 milliards de roupies. CSG Retirement Benefit, 2,8 milliards de roupies. CSG Child Allowance, 285 millions de roupies. Independence Allowance, 285 millions de roupies. Industrial Injury Benefit, 38 millions de roupies. CSG Disability Allowance, 4,7 millions de roupies. Augmentation des pensions, 9 milliards de roupies. Special Allowance pour le National Minimum Wage, 1,6 milliard de roupies. Assistance financière pour la compensation salariale dans certains secteurs, 126 millions de roupies. Prime à l'emploi, 301 millions de roupies. Housing Loan Relief Scheme, 100 millions de roupies. Home Ownership Scheme, 2,7 milliards de roupies. Home Loan Payment Scheme, 560 millions de roupies. Monsieur le Président, le montant total déboursé pour le paiement de ces prestations est d'environ 25 milliards de roupies. Il ne reste donc rien par rapport aux contributions de la CSG. Tout l'argent récolté a été utilisé pour augmenter le pouvoir d'achat de nos aînés et les travailleurs et la population dans son ensemble. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
The Minister has said it at the time he introduced the CHZ bill and has said it today as well, that the purpose of the CHZ was because the NPF fund has become unsustainable. Now, with nothing left in the kitty, how is the Minister going to ensure a pension plan for all the workers of this country in the future?
Monsieur le Président, je tiens à rappeler à l'honorable membre qui vient de poser cette question de nous faire confiance là-dessus. Parce que nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, nous avons été en mesure d'augmenter la pension de 3 623 roupies à 5 000 roupies, de 5 000 roupies à 9 000 roupies, de 9 000 roupies à 11 000 roupies et 12 000 roupies. Donc de ne pas s'inquiéter. Nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, nous travaillons pour pouvoir augmenter la pension. Nous ne sommes pas ici pour dire nous n'avons pas d'argent pour pouvoir payer la pension. Donc je reviens avec l'honorable membre, c'est ça l'économie mon cher ami, c'est comme ça qu'on travaille, c'est en injectant, en investissant sur les personnes qu'on va récolter plus de fonds et qu'on va pouvoir payer plus de pensions à nos aînés, de ne pas s'inquiéter pour ces membres, pour la population mauricienne. Moi aussi je regarde ça de très près et on va faire en sorte de pouvoir payer cette pension. Merci.
Mr. Speaker, after hearing what the Honourable Minister of Finance just said, I'm very, very much afraid of the future of this country, especially the finance of this country. Because as the Minister explained, the CSG was introduced to replace the NPF. And the figures that he gave, 25.5 billion rupees, has been collected since 2020, that is almost 3 years now. And now there is zero balance. So my question to the Honourable Minister, with everything that is being given in terms of prestation, etc., how will government collect such a sum to ensure the same distribution that we have done this year?
Monsieur le Président, je souhaiterais apporter une petite explication à l'honorable membre. Nous avons passé une crise et à un moment donné, on a fait une réforme pour la pension. Et maintenant, l'économie est en train d'aller mieux. Nous avons promis que la pension allait être à 13 500 roupies. La CSG a été introduite pour pouvoir avoir des prestations sociales, pour pouvoir améliorer le pouvoir d'achat en priorité des pensionnés, mais aussi des travailleurs. C'est les réformes, les amendements qu'on a apportés à la loi. Parce que, entre-temps, il y a eu des chocs. Premier choc qu'on a eu, la guerre en Ukraine, qui a provoqué une hausse conséquente des prix, et eux-mêmes, à chaque fois, ils nous rappellent qu'il y a un taux d'inflation assez élevé. Donc nous, au lieu de laisser l'argent et de ne pas le retourner à la population, nous avons préféré retourner à la population qui en ont besoin. Nous, de ce côté de ce gouvernement, quand nous avons fait un budget avec un montant de 174 milliards de roupies, il y a 140 milliards de roupies qui sont retournés à la population directement. C'est comme ça que nous travaillons et c'est comme ça que nous allons continuer de travailler. Donc je redis à l'honorable membre de ne pas s'inquiéter. Nous ne sommes pas comme ceux qui viennent et qui disent on n'a pas d'argent. Moi, en tant que ministre des Finances, je n'ai jamais dit je n'ai pas d'argent pour faire telle ou telle mesure. Quand nous venons avec des mesures, s'il regarde le budget, il va bien voir que d'année en année, on est en train d'augmenter l'allocation concernant les prestations sociales, l'allocation concernant le budget du ministre de la Sécurité sociale. Donc de ne pas s'inquiéter, de ne pas prendre cette mauvaise habitude qu'a son leader, d'être inquiet de tout. Donc de ne pas faire cela. Ayez confiance, monsieur le député. Nous sommes en train d'avoir un taux de croissance très élevé. Nous sommes en train de réussir notre sortie de crise et nous allons pouvoir payer ce que nous avons promis.
You know, despite whatever intention the minister wants the population to perceive, I refer him to what the IMF has said, what his ministry said to the IMF, that the revenue measures of CSG was to bring revenue of approximately 10% and will reduce the budget deficit. So can I ask the minister whether the real intention of government when introducing the CSD, as per the IMF report, was it to reduce the budget deficit or was it at the expense of the contributions of the workers of this country?
Monsieur le Président, j'aimerais apporter une petite clarification, je l'ai dit dedans. Là, je vais simplement dire une petite chose. Il nous parle de contribution des employés. Contribution des employés. Il était où quand les employés étaient en train de payer 3%? Il n'était nulle part. Nous ici, je le dis, je tiens à apporter une précision, monsieur le député, l'employé est en train de contribuer 1,5% de son salaire. Si un employé gagne 20 000 roupies, je tiens à le rappeler, il est en train de contribuer 300 roupies. 300 roupies, monsieur le député. Mais en même temps, l'État est en train de lui redonner 2000 roupies. D'accord? Donc c'est un net pour l'employé de 1700 roupies. C'est comme ça que nous travaillons ici. Nous avons cette particularité, monsieur le député, monsieur le président, quand nous travaillons, nous prenons de l'argent là où il est et nous redistribuons. C'est ça la tâche d'un gouvernement et c'est aussi la tâche des finances. Personne ne naît égaux dans ce pays. Nous ne naissons pas égaux. Donc nous devons essayer de rattraper les inégalités. Et c'est comme ça que nous avons décidé, nous, de ce côté de la Chambre, de travailler pour aider les plus vulnérables. Nous apportons des solutions aux personnes qui ont le plus besoin et c'est pour cela, je tiens à rappeler, c'est pas moi qui le dis, c'est Maurice Stratégie. Maurice Stratégie a publié concernant le Gini coefficient, le taux d'inégalité. Je tiens à rappeler, en 2006-2014, les inégalités ont augmenté, passant de 0,34 à 0,41. En 2015 et 2023, c'est passé de 0,41 à 0,3. indiquant une baisse générale des inégalités dans ce pays. Et c'est pour ça, Monsieur le Président, que moi je suis fier de faire de la politique aux côtés de mon Premier ministre pour pouvoir apporter des solutions concrètes à la population.
Monsieur le Président, le ministre nous a donné un chapelet de bonnes intentions, comment il a dépensé surtout l'argent. Mais ce qu'il oublie de dire à la Chambre et à la population, c'est que l'endettement de ce pays a atteint un niveau insoutenable. Aujourd'hui, nous avons atteint un endettement sans précédent au-delà de 500 milliards de roupies qu'il a oublié de mentionner. Donc, Monsieur le Président, ma question au ministre, c'est maintenant qu'il y a presque rien dans le fonds de CSG. Comment il va faire pour financer l'augmentation de la pension si ce n'est que, après moi, le déluge?
Monsieur le Président, bien sûr qu'après moi, il n'y aura pas de déluge. Je tiens à rappeler l'honorable membre, je pense qu'il ne maîtrise pas suffisamment la technicité du Consolidated Fund. Tout l'argent récolté rentre dans le Consolidated Fund au ministère des Finances. Le Consolidated Fund est fermé au 30 juin et tout l'argent est dépensé. Tous les ans, on le fait ça. C'est pas un fonds où on met de l'argent, on continue d'accumuler et on regarde. Le CSG, dans la loi, Monsieur le Président, l'argent est récolté, on le met dans le Consolidated Fund, c'est pour être redistribué immédiatement. C'est pas pour garder et regarder et dire oui, on a beaucoup de milliards dans des fonds, mais que la population souffre en même temps. De ce côté, nous pensons qu'un gouvernement responsable est là pour ça. Et je reviens, après le déluge, je reviens là-dessus, on est en train de travailler, s'il regarde encore une fois, on a voté la loi budgétaire. S'il regarde les estimés, il va voir qu'on a déjà prévu par rapport à ce qui est qu'on va dépenser dans les futurs budgets, même après 2024, concernant les dépenses au niveau de la sécurité sociale par rapport aux pensions. Donc c'est déjà prévu. On a déjà prévu parce que, comme il ne le sait pas, tous les ans nous avons de la croissance. Cette croissance apporte plus de revenus à l'État et ce revenu est utilisé de manière efficace pour être redistribué. Maintenant, je tiens à apporter une petite précision concernant les 500 milliards. Oui, on est passé par un plus haut avec un taux d'endettement de 91,4. On parle de taux d'endettement, pas de montant. Montant, c'est pour faire de la politique, ça, Monsieur le Président. On monte sur une caisse de savon, on dit 500 milliards. Il a parlé, laissez-moi répondre. J'aimerais 500 milliards. Pourquoi il ne dit pas que, concernant le PIB, la richesse produite par ce pays, c'est à 650 milliards. Ça, il n'a pas vu. Il ne regarde pas que le déficit est en train de diminuer. Il ne regarde pas que nous, quand on a eu cette crise, on n'a pas laissé 100 000 personnes vivre dans le besoin. Nous avons travaillé, nous continuons de travailler. Nous n'avons pas dit, on est en train, Monsieur le Président, on est en train de rembourser. On a des reconnaissances au niveau mondial. C'est pas eux qui vont nous dire, eux ils ont l'habitude de dire on n'a pas d'argent. On a eu l'habitude de ça. Monsieur le Président, on a eu ça en 2014, on aura de nouveau. Monsieur le Président, je serai fier, je serai heureux maintenant. Monsieur le Président, je retiens ce qu'a dit cet honorable membre. J'aimerais bien voir dans ses propositions, quand il va aller faire campagne l'année prochaine, ce qu'il va aller dire. Est-ce qu'il va dire qu'il va couper la pension parce qu'on a une dette de 500 milliards? Donc allez, j'aimerais bien qu'il le dise. Hein? J'aimerais qu'il le dise. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Order. What is happening? You ask a question, he is replying. Listen. You finished, Minister? Yes. Honorable Itu?
B1249. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, following the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry on Drug Trafficking, a technical committee on medicinal cannabis was set up at the Ministry of Health. The report of the technical committee was finalized and approved in November 2021. The main decisions were as follows. Therapeutic Committee on Medicinal Cannabis will be set up at regional level under the chair of the Regional Health Director. all prescriptions containing medicinal cannabis from both public and private specialists will have to be approved by the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee. Both public and private medical specialists will have to be trained for prescribing medicinal cannabis. Medicinal cannabis will be provided free of charge to all patients attending public hospitals, and all private patients will be required to pay for their medication, as is actually the case for other drugs dispensed at hospital level. And the use of medicinal cannabis will be started on a pilot basis at Victoria Hospital. Mr. Speaker, so in parallel, the Dangerous Drugs Act 2000 was amended to include medicinal cannabis to be used therapeutically for specific medical conditions by authorized medical specialists. It is to be noted that medicinal cannabis would not be used as a first line of treatment. 5 conditions requiring treatment with medicinal cannabis have also been finalized, namely spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis resistant to all conventional treatment, severe refractory epilepsy that has failed to respond to conventional anticonvulsant treatment, intractable nausea and vomiting associated with chemotherapy, severe intractable pain unresponsive to conventional treatment, and any such other conditions, therapeutic conditions, as may be authorized by the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee based on therapeutic evidence. Mr. Speaker, sir, a Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee has been set up in the first instance at Victoria Hospital under the chair of the Regional Health Director. Its main function is to look into all requests for treatment by medicinal cannabis from all regions, both from the public and private specialists, and approve the request if all criteria are met. It is to be noted that patients suffering from the above-mentioned specific conditions and who are already under treatment with public specialists would have to be assessed. A request form for treatment by medicinal cannabis would have to be filled and be endorsed by the respective consultant in charge prior to submitting to the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee. Private specialists prescribing medicinal cannabis to patients should fill in the request form and submit directly to the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee. Only specialist doctors and pharmacists who have successfully completed a training course as approved by my ministry on the therapeutic use of medicinal cannabis are authorized to prescribe or dispense medicinal cannabis to patients. Mr. Speaker, sir, as at date, the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee has met on 3 occasions where 8 potential cases for treatment by medicinal cannabis have been examined. Out of these cases, 3 patients who have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis resistant to current treatment have been recommended and approved by the Medicinal Cannabis Therapeutic Committee. The 3 patients are already undergoing treatment with medicinal cannabis. As regard to the procurement of medicinal cannabis products, my ministry has launched 5 bidding exercises since December 2022 for the procurement of medicinal cannabis products. Only one item, namely balanced sublingual oil spray, THC 20-27 mg per millimeters and CBD 20-25 mg per millimeters, has been awarded on April 10, 2023 and delivered on 16 August 2023. Another item, namely THC plus CBD in the ratio of 1:20, less than 2 mg per ml, THC and 10 to 60 mg per millimeter CBD has been awarded on 13th October 2023 and will be delivered shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Coming to this Cannabis Medicinal Therapeutic Committee, can we know from the Honourable Minister of its composition? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, so the composition of the Medicinal Therapeutic Committee. So you have, as I stated in my reply, the Regional Health Director and the other members of medical specialists in the field of oncology, neurology, pediatrics, psychiatry, and internal medicine, as well as the pharmacist who will be involved, who has been given the training how to use medicinal cannabis.
Regarding thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister inform regarding the cannabis products that he just mentioned? Are they locally produced or are they imported?
No, they are important. They are not locally produced. These are medicine that has already been given approval in other countries as per the requirement, and then they are, have been procured from international market.
The table has been advised that the following questions have been withdrawn: B1279, B1282, B1283, B1294, B1297, B1303, B1304, B1306, B1307. Next question.
B/125.
Monsieur le Président, la Banque de Maurice m'a informé qu'elle n'avait contracté aucun prêt en dollars ni dans aucune autre devise. Toutefois, dans le sillage de la pandémie de la Covid-19, la Banque de Maurice a eu recours à des opérations de rachat pour un montant de 1,15 milliard de dollars afin de soutenir l'économie en intervenant massivement sur le marché intérieur d'échange, alors que les entrées de devises provenant de divers secteurs de l'économie se contractaient de manière drastique. En outre, la Banque centrale a également eu recours à des opérations de swap pour un montant de 346 millions de dollars dans le cadre de l'optimisation du rendement de ces investissements. Monsieur le Président, je souhaite informer l'Assemblée qu'en décembre 2014, les réserves officielles internationales brutes, les GOIR, s'élevaient uniquement à 3,8 milliards de dollars. À ce jour, les réserves s'élèvent à 6,7 milliards de dollars, soit une augmentation de 75%. En outre, de plus, j'ai été informé que les actifs, les biens, c'est-à-dire la richesse totale de la Banque de Maurice, donc de l'État, s'élevaient à environ 3,9 milliards de dollars américains en 2014, comparé à 9,2 milliards de dollars américains à fin juin 2023, soit une hausse de 135%. Merci.
The ministerial relation of the swaps, whether the money was obtained from India?
Monsieur le Président, je n'ai pas cette information avec moi. Je peux vérifier si ça a été obtenu de... Laissez-moi regarder un coup. Est-ce que... Non. À ma connaissance, non. C'est de Londres et des États-Unis.
Next question.
B1251. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I shall reply to PQ1251 and PQ1273 together since they relate to the same subject matter. I'm informed by the Chief Fire Officer that the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service has attended 3 fire incidents at the Victoria Urban Terminal from 2022 to date. The Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service has reported that, firstly, the first fire incident occurred on Saturday, the 24th of December 2022 at 0659 hours. A crew from the Port Louis Fire Station attended the fire incident, and it was observed that the fire was confined in stall number DIF82, located on the first floor of the building. Same was extinguished by the crew using fire hose reel and by the activation of the sprinkler system available in the building as means for fighting fire within the building. According to the investigation carried out by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service, the cause of the fire was accidental due to overheating of the LED light of the lighting system installed at the stall. The electrical installation was extended to provide additional light in the stall from the main electrical supply. A second fire incident occurred on Wednesday, 20th of September 2023 at 14:12 hours. A crew from the Port Louis Fire Station attended the fire incident and observed that the fire was in stall number DIF88, located on the first floor of the building. Same was extinguished by the crew using fire hose reel available in the building as means for firefighting in the building. The cause of the fire is still under investigation by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service. The third incident occurred on Tuesday, 17th of October 2023 at 16:38 hours. A crew from Port Louis Fire Station attended the fire incident and observed that the fire incident was in stall number DIB073 located on first floor of the building. The fire was already extinguished by the security officer of the building by using dry powder, fire extinguishers, and by the activation of the sprinkler system available in the building as means for firefighting fire within the building. The crew carried out an assessment and observed that there was no fire spread to the adjacent stall. Investigation carried out by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service has revealed that the cause of the fire was suspected to be accidental due to an electrical fault. According to the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service, an electrical cable was extended from the main supply to provide additional power source, causing an alteration of the original line. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part 2 of PQB 1251, I'm informed by the Municipal Council of Port Louis that no compensation has been paid to the stallholders. According to the Council, stallholders are responsible to take property insurance that covers damage and loss caused by fire to their article and goods. However, any damage to the structure of the stall will be reinstated by the promoter, Victoria Station Limited, at its own cost. I'm further informed that the Victoria Bin Terminal has a fire certificate which is valid up to the 1st of June 2024. The premises are equipped with fire safety measures such as portable fire extinguishers, fire hose reel, wet risers, sprinkler suppression system, fire hydrant, fire detectors, water spray system, amongst others. Furthermore, the Council has advised stallholders to prevent overloading of the electrical system with unauthorized electrical appliances.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Victoria Urban Terminal, luckily, when the fire broke out, there was no people around and there was no casualty. Is the Honourable Vice Prime Minister agreeable for the Municipal Council of Port Louis to ensure regular inspection, to carry out regular inspection to ensure that there is no overload or illegal taking of wire, which he just mentioned was one of the causes of the recent fire accident?
I completely agree with you because initially this was not done because we were left that at, the stallholders, they were supposed to know that they are not supposed to have illegal connection. You know, that's why no regular check was done. But I suppose you're right, from now on, maybe the Municipal Council should do regular check to make sure there was no illegal connection, which can lead to this kind of fire.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker.
Now, MP Omia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the Honourable Vice Prime Minister whether these small operators, namely the hawkers, have been given or will be given technical assistance by the lessee, which is the municipality of Port Louis, with regard to the need of availability of extra power points for their business so that these unfortunate events do not recur?
As I said, okay, we are going to have, I've just answered, we have to go and check the system as it is now to make sure they don't make unnecessary kind of illegal connections, that's number one. And the Municipal Council of Port Louis maybe we can discuss with VSL to make sure, to see how we can, if needs be, increase the lighting in this particular stall. But anyways, that has to be discussed between Municipal Council of Port Louis and VSL.
Can the Municipal Council of Port Louis also consider taking insurance policy for all these stall holders? Because at the moment, I understand from the Honourable Vice Prime Minister that each individual stallholder has to apply for its own insurance policy, and being given that the Municipal Council is charging a 500 rupee premium, the difference between what is received from stallholder and paid to the landlord, can they use this 500 rupees to take a global insurance to insure all the properties of the hawkers who are in Victoria Urban Terminal?
The Municipal Council has an insurance policy for third party. You know, as it is now, the Municipal Council has to get additional money from the government to pay the rent every month. I think to tell the Municipal Council now to go and take insurance to cover the stallholder, I think that's a bit difficult now, because now, as you are aware, a lot of the stallholders, although they are working there, they are not paying their rent. And this has to be paid by the Municipal Council to VSL every month. So now, to tell them to take additional, I think we'll have to look into that, but I'm not convinced, I'm not think they'll be able to do that now.
Last question.
Can I ask whether there's an electrical maintenance contract at the Victoria Urban Terminal, and how often these regular checks are carried out so as to ensure the safety of one and all?
Yeah, as I mentioned that no regular check is carried out by VSL because they think the stallholders are given the necessary lighting to do their work. But unfortunately, sometimes they make illegal connection, which unfortunately led to this kind of accident. You know, I think, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think everybody would have to take their responsibility. We have to take, because if you have seen some of the connection, I have pictures now, they're so dangerous. Look, people have to take their responsibility as well. We can't just put everything either on Municipal Council or VSL.
Next question.
B1253.
Mr. Speaker, sir, fire certificates are issued as per Section 19 of the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service Act 2013. In addition, the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service has embarked on a digital transformation, and as from the 13th of September 2021, applications for fire certificate are made on the National Electronic Licensing System, NELS, in a bid to facilitate the process of obtaining a fire certificate. I'm informed by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service that as at date, 15,144 applications have been processed on the system. During the process of issuing a fire certificate, apart from other fire safety devices, the provision for fire extinguishers is imposed on the applicant, including companies. Although the onus lies on the applicant to keep the fire extinguishers in good working order, the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service carries enforcement inspection on a regular basis. And should there be any discrepancies, an improvement notice is issued as per Section 25 of the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service Act 2013, and a deadline is granted for remedial action, following which a reinspection is carried out by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service to verify compliance. A database was created by the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service at the beginning of this year to capture all premises which are operating without a valid fire certificate. As per the database, so far 1,893 companies which do not hold a fire certificate have been identified, and improvement notices have been issued to them accordingly.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the audit report clearly mentioned that the public buildings do not have fire certificates, out of which there are 280 schools who are in breach of the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Service Act and the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Can the Minister inform the House what has been his course of action following the audit report?
Mr. Speaker, I think the question is about companies, not public building. If you come with a separate question, I think there's one coming afterwards, I can answer it.
Let's move to the next question. Honorable Ganga Prasad.
B1254.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed by the District Council of Suivez that from the information gathered, an incident occurred on the 11th of October 2023 at around 17 hours at Cap Maliri football ground when a student of 17 years old residing in the locality knocked against the goal post while playing with his friend on the football ground and sustained injury. He was subsequently taken to SSR National Hospital and was admitted in the intensive care unit. I'm informed that the matter has been reported by the father of the student to the Grand Bay police station, and an inquiry has been initiated thereon. Officers of the council have effected a visit at Cap Maliri football ground and have observed that all the infrastructure found thereat is in good state.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, will the Honourable Minister inform the House when was it that, if any, maintenance work was carried out on the said football ground, and if following the unfortunate incident whereby the 17-year-old school certificate student was seriously injured, the security measures have been reviewed and beefed up?
Mr. Speaker, sir, on all the, be it sport centers or football pitch, you have somebody who look after the pitch. And if there's any problem, they are supposed to report it to the council. So that's how we work. That's number one. And secondly, as far as this particular football pitch is concerned, the goalpost was in good order. It was not faulty. It wasn't an accident that happened while playing, and unfortunately, that chap, that 70-year-old boy, hit his head against that goalpost. And it's an unfortunate accident which happened, but it was not due to any fault on the part. There was no fault on the pitch or for the football, on the goalpost or whatever. So we have to try to see. I mean, and not everything that happened is a fault of the council. We have to be careful. An accident can happen anywhere, but we have to be careful not to put everything on the back of the council, please.
Yes, Honourable Minister, we wish that youngster prompt recovery. Will the Honourable Minister inform the House what is the general policy regarding the insurance cover for those who have access and use the facilities of the football grounds which are under the aegis of your ministry?
And as I have answered earlier for VSL, the council usually have a third-party liabilities and insurance cover. I mean, that depends if they're at fault, obviously, or not, yes or not. But having said that, we know on the football pitch across the island, every day you have accident while playing football. Every day you have it. Whether it is between two players or whatever, every day you have accident. I mean, how much cover can the council provide? I think we'll have to think about it, how much cover we can give.
Next question.
Et 1255.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as regard to part A of the question, I'm informed that 2,374 patients are undergoing treatment as from January 2023 till date. As regard to the type of therapy being prescribed, I'm informed that management of cancer patients is multimodal. The different treatment options include in Mauritius are surgery, commonly used for treatment of many types of cancer. There is, during operation, surgeon exercises the growth along with involved surrounding tissue. Surgery is done in all the 5 regional hospitals. Chemotherapy, drugs used to kill cancer cells with specific drugs. Chemotherapy is administered at the new cancer center and also in the regional hospitals. Targeted therapy, immunotherapies. Targeted therapy uses drugs to kill cancer with specific cell surface receptors. Radiotherapy, radiation therapy uses high energy X-rays to kill cancer cells. Brachytherapy, internal radiotherapy, is administered for cervical and endometrial cancer patients. Endocrine therapy, hormone therapy, is used to treat cancers that are hormone dependent, such as breast and prostate cancers. Palliative care is a specialized medical care for people living with serious illness, focus on providing relief from symptoms, stress of the illness. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to Part B of the question, I'm informed that the radiotherapy department is already included in the newly constructed block of the New Cancer Center. The block was completed on 30th January 2023. 3 bunkers have already been built to house linear accelerators, LINAC, and an HDR brachytherapy. These machines are sophisticated and high-tech ones using gamma rays to treat patients. Mr. Speaker, so I'm informed that on 21st August 2023, my ministry sought licensing permit from the Radiation Safety and Nuclear Security Authority, RSNSA, for the radiotherapy facility, and the latter has submitted its recommendation on 25th September 2023. After all the recommendations have been addressed, the RSNSA would authorize my ministry to proceed with the installation and commissioning of the 2 LINAC to be used at the New Cancer Center. Mr. Speaker, sir, the New Cancer Center is expected to be operational very soon.
C'est une bonne nouvelle que le service de radiothérapie soit enfin ouvert après 2 années d'opération du New Cancer Hospital. Est-ce que l'honorable ministre peut nous dire le nombre de personnel médical formé et les différentes spécialisations de ces médecins et infirmiers de ce service?
Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, this is a very good news, thanks to the Prime Minister, who in 2017 initiated this project and came up with this new project. And for the different, and unfortunately this was not mentioned in the main question, I would have been, given all the information, especially on the training, and that has been conducted for the last 2 years, that the training of the officers who will be working in with these sophisticated machines. Unfortunately, I don't have these replies, but I will request the honourable member to put a question. I will be glad to give all these replies.
Monsieur le Président, la charge émotionnelle que le cancer provoque est considérable, pas juste pour les malades, mais aussi pour leurs proches. Le ministre peut-il nous dire si un service de soutien psychologique est offert au New Cancer Hospital?
So again, Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, I would be glad to answer this question, but I don't have all the information. Unfortunately, I would like to have your question.
Let's move to the next question. Honorable Lobin.
B1257, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, may I continue? Mr. Speaker, sir, in regard to the Mauritian long-tailed macaque, I wish to assure the House that the export thereof is strictly regulated locally and internationally through provisions of the Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna, which is an international agreement between governments to regulate the trade in wild animals and plants between countries and to safeguard certain species from overexploitation. Section 25 of the Native Terrestrial Biodiversity and National Park Act stipulates that no person shall, unless he holds a permit to do so and subject to the terms and conditions imposed of such fee for the breeding, hunting, buying, selling, export, re-export, or facilitating the export or import of any prescribed wildlife product or derivative of prescribed wildlife. As at date the National Parks and Conservation Service of my ministry has since January 1988 delivered permits to 6 companies for the capture, breeding, and export of the long-tailed macaque. The latter was authorized to capture monkeys across the island. In fact, these companies trap monkeys in, first, national parks with the permission of the National Park and Conservation Service. Second, private land including chassis, agricultural lands, and lease lands with a permission obtained from the owners and lessees. And third, leased state land with the permission of the Forestry Service and the Food and Agricultural Extension and Research Institute. The conditions to allow capture are monitored by the National Parks and Conservation Service, NPCS, and the Livestock and Veterinary Division, LVD. The conditions include, inter alia, the following: that the monkeys trapped, kept, reared, bred, and transported under internationally acceptable human conditions. B, the premises of the company must be accessible to offices of my ministry for inspection at any time. C, a monthly return of monkeys caught, bred, and exported be submitted to the National Parks and Conservation Service. D, each registered company has to submit its annual record to the NPCS and Livestock and Veterinary Division of all macaque trapped, bred, and exported, number of offspring produced, and also number of deaths. E, the list of authorized trappers and list of registered vehicles is shared with the Forestry Service, the planters' community, and the police. F, all monkeys found at the breeding facilities are individually tattooed by the companies for the purpose of identification to ensure that the macaques are not exported from illegal sources. And J, monitoring of the veterinary health care and welfare of the non-human primates on a regular basis by the Livestock and Veterinary Division together with the veterinarians of the breeding companies. Moreover, for the NPCS to issue a Convention on International Trade of Endangered Species of Flora and Fauna, CITES permit to allow the export of macaque and to ensure traceability, the registered companies have the obligation to submit a detailed list of all monkeys caught in the wild, including the location where the monkeys were trapped. Mr. Speaker, sir, there's also an arrangement between the NPCS and the 6 registered companies for capturing stray monkeys following complaints received from the public in residential areas and agricultural cultivation. The monkeys are not released back into the wild, but brought to their breeding facilities with the exception of those suffering from diseases. My ministry proposes to come up with a regulation for the registration of trappers under various conditions, as well as implementations of means of traceability for all traps involved in such activities. I am also having discussions soon with the 6 registered companies and other public organizations to discuss ways to deter illegal trapping and poaching. So far, any illegal trap or illegal trapping detected in the national parks by officers of the National Parks and Conservation Service, in forest estate land, and in private forest land by officers of the Forestry Service, are presently being seized and destroyed, while cases of illegal trapping and poaching are reported to the police. Coming to the case of monkeys at Jinfei, in reply to PQ B1168, at our last sitting, I informed the House that the inquiry on illegal possession of the long-tailed macaque is at the level of the police, which is in progress.
Mr. Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Minister, prior to 2021, there were about 6,000 to 7,000 long-tailed macaques that were being exported from Mauritius. As at date, the figure is about 12,000 to 14,000 long-tailed macaques that are being exported. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House what are the tools available to those officers of your ministry to make sure that this figure of long-tailed macaques that are being exported are through legal means, not from illegal means, because the figure has doubled over the past years, and whether all norms are being satisfied with regards to the conventions that we have signed?
Yes, I thank the Honourable Member for drawing our attention. Let me first remind the House that the increase is due to, as we are aware, due to COVID. The export of macaque was stopped, and that's why the reason we have a considerable increase from 6,000, as you said, to now 12,000. So the reason is that this number has increased because at that time we have restriction and we could not export. Well, I said in my reply earlier that we are coming up with regulations. There are trappers who are registered with the companies, but they only, in fact, they were only just informing our ministry that these were the trappers. So we are coming up with a traceability, which is very important to trace out from where these monkeys were trapped. And we are having discussion also to how maybe a GPS system in the trap, in the cage, where if tomorrow they are moving, we can at least recognize, we can trace out where these cages are moving, and it will be easily traced out whether it is legal or illegal traps.
May I ask the Honourable Minister, with regard to the manpower attached to your ministry, with regards to inspection that are carried out on a regular basis, I suppose, on those 6 companies, can you inform the House how many officers do you have on the field that goes regularly to visit those 6 companies to make sure that they are respecting all the norms and conditions with regards to breeding of those long-tailed macaques?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't have, actually I don't have the right number of forestry officers who do the site visit. Well, I can inform the House that there is regular site visit which is carried out by these officers to trace out illegal trapping. And there are, as I said, there are vehicles that are registered through the National Parks and Conservation Service, where we have a regular monitoring of these vehicles' accessibility in the forest state land or even the private land. So there are some criteria that is being followed to monitor this movement of illegal trappers.
Next question.
58.
Mr. Speaker, sir, my ministry is currently working on the implementation of the National Integrated Care for Older People, ICOP, Strategic Plan 2022-2026. Currently, 260,000 Mauritians, that is 19% of our population, are aged 60 and above. Projections will indicate that by the year 2060, this age group will comprise 38.6% of the overall population, that is around 330,000 people. Consequently, this led to an increase in the demand for healthcare services to address the intricate health needs of our elderly citizens. Government is promoting healthy aging and well-being by emphasizing on preventive healthcare through the implementation of the National ICOP Strategic Plan 2022-2026, combining the efforts of providing of new infrastructures and services and implementation of ICOP will lead to a healthier population. Mr. Speaker, so one of the important activities proposed under the National ICOP Strategic Action Plan is the printing and distribution of a carnet de santé for people aged 60 and above. This carnet de santé has been collaboratively developed by my ministry and the WHO this year, with the primary goal of fulfilling several vital functions. It is designed to be user-friendly and written in plain language to ensure easy comprehension and will remain in the possession of the patient. Firstly, the handbook will function as an educational resource on a wide range of healthcare topics of our elderly population and their families, including subjects like dementia, falls, osteoporosis, diabetes, and others. Secondly, this document will serve as a user-friendly communication tool acting as an aide-mémoire for senior citizens, their family members, and caregivers. It will assist the elderly in keeping tabs on their healthcare concern, retaining medical advice, and kept informed about upcoming appointments. Lastly, it will operate as a care coordination instrument during the gradual implementation of e-health. This will enable healthcare practitioners who interact with the elderly to gain a comprehensive understanding of their health status, thus reducing redundancy, potential drug interactions, and systemic challenges in accessing critical information like allergies and medication lists. I have been informed that actions for the printing of the carnet de santé have already been initiated by my ministry through the government printing department, and delivery of the first batch of some 30,000 copies is expected by end of December this year. Mr. Speaker, I would like to inform the House that the Geriatric Health Unit was set up in June 2023, based at Floreal Mediclinic. It is led by specialists in geriatrics and supported by medical health officers. The Geriatric Health Unit has adopted the WHO ICOP screening tool, which has been tailored to suit the specific needs and conditions in our local context. Comprehensive assessments have been undertaken encompassing areas such as cognitive function, mental health, vision, hearing, mobility, and nutritional status, all aimed at ensuring the holistic well-being of our elderly citizens. Till now, over 700 patients have received ICOP screening. I would also like to inform the House that the early dementia diagnosis clinic is functional in all 5 regional hospitals. In order to accelerate the screening of our senior citizens, the Geriatric Health Unit will receive additional support for the inclusion of medical and health officers. Furthermore, my ministry has already trained 200 staff across Mauritius in training of trainers workshops over the past year in collaboration with the World Health Organization. My ministry has recently organized 3-day training workshop for training of trainers focusing on ICOP program. This workshop was led by 3 distinguished experts in aged care from the WHO, Dr. Cesari, Dr. Desta, and Dr. Oleyade. These experts were in our country from October 16 to October 20th this month for the purpose of assessing progress, training of staff, and providing valuable guidance on the best pathways for effective implementation. Mr. Speaker, sir, the government firmly believes that the implementation of ICOP will play a pivotal role in advancing the objectives of promoting healthy aging. The delivery of ICOP has the potential to bring about the fundamental transformation in the operation of our health system, paving the way for more effective and comprehensive elderly care.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. In his reply, the Minister mentioned about the 5 regional dementia diagnosis clinic. Can the Honourable Minister give us some more information with regard to the setting up of these regional clinics?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir, these regional clinics have been set up especially for diagnosis of the dementia, that is the forgetfulness. I believe these are new focus that we have to target the elderly, because we know that during the years to come, with an elderly population, we'll have more patients suffering from dementia or Alzheimer's. So it's very important, as from now we develop such clinic, and with time we can have more, that is a capacity building of the staff, and as well as a better structured clinic, especially for screening of these pathologies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Can the Honourable Minister give us some information on how the integrated care for older people strategic plan will help our elderly healthy?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So this plan has several components, and one of the activities involves in conducting ICOP screening, especially when we need to conduct screening in the domains of cognition, mental health, vision, hearing, mobility, and nutrition that I've already stated, and consistent with WHO guidelines and standards. This annual screening will be done for all our senior citizens. So I mean to say, at the same time, the government is ready for the pension, as the Minister of Finance has recently pointed out, but at the same time, the government is also emphasizing a lot on the elderly to be healthy. And I'm sure many of us will be among them.
B1259. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm informed that the Central Water Authority supplies water in 6 water supply zones across the island. The northern part of the island falls under the jurisdiction of the Water Supply Zone North and supplies some 89,452 subscribers. The primary sources of water for the northern part of the island are water from Midlands Dam to La Nicolière Reservoir, boreholes and tappings from the Irrigation Authority pipelines that are treated through containerized pressure filters. Water in the northern part of the island is used for various purposes, including domestic, commercial, industrial, tourism, and agricultural uses. The region has seen steady development over the past years. Mr. Speaker, sir, since August 2022, the island has been experiencing a severe deficiency in rainfall. This situation has persisted into 2023, with several months witnessing rainfall levels significantly below the long-term mean, namely February, April, June, September, and the first half of October 2023. The lack of rainfall has adversely affected the replenishment of water resources, both in surface water reservoirs and rivers and groundwater island-wide and in the north. Groundwater levels in the north are currently on a declining trend. The storage levels of La Nicolière and Midlands reservoirs stood at 44.7% and 80% respectively, as at yesterday, 23rd October 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, given the specificity of the Lanicollière Midlands water system and the sharing of the Irrigation Authority pipe network with the CWA, management of water resources for the northern region, especially during the dry season, is done on a participatory and consultative manner at the level of the Water Resources Monitoring Committee. The committee is chaired by my ministry and comprises representatives of the Central Water Authority, Water Resources Unit, Irrigation Authority, and the Mauritius Meteorological Services. It has been meeting regularly to monitor closely the situation and to ensure that various users' needs are taken into consideration. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to measures being taken by the Central Water Authority for water supply, especially during the dry season, I am informed that the intermittency in water supply in some regions is due to the following reasons: inadequate water resources as a result of reduced production from groundwater and surface water, disruption due to low levels in service reservoir, due to pump breakdowns and prolonged power cuts, low production from irrigation authorities' pipelines, and clogged submersible pumps. Moreover, water cuts are occasionally necessary for carrying out repairs on broken main service pipes and for the installation of new connections. The presence of old and defective pipes leading to frequent bursts. Mr. Speaker, so I'm replying and they are disturbing my reply. The presence of...
Members, be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet.
The presence of old and defective pipes leading to frequent bursts has compounded the situation. Mr. Speaker, sir, notwithstanding the above and in order to alleviate the water situation, I am informed by the Central Water Authority that it has initiated a holistic set of measures and projects in the northern region under a contingency program since the beginning of the year. Mr. Speaker, sir, since the setting up of the contingency program in 2020, the Central Water Authority had completed projects in multiple regions, such as mobilizing water from Rivière-la-Bourdonnais to Crèvecoeur Reservoir in Crèvecoeur and Vallée des Prêtres, abstracting 2,000 meter cubes per day of raw water from Bassin Solitude to benefit Triolet, Pointe-au-Piment, and Solitude, utilizing a new 3,000 meter cube per day borehole in Beauplan to balance water supply in Grand Bay, Pérébert, and Cap Malheureux, proposing borehole exploitation in l'Espérance Trébuchet to enhance supply in Rocheterre and Grand Gobe, and mobilizing 2,500 meter cube of water from Bassin Grand Marais to extend hours of supply in Grand Bay, Pérébert, and Cap Malheureux, and installation of water tanks in Grand Gobe, Melville, and exploiting borehole BH 647 in Rouillard, abstracting 2,000 meter cube per day of raw water from Haute-Rive River with containerized pressure filter and pumps in Haute-Rive, and proposing a pipeline installation for improved water supply in Haute-Rive, post-Lafayette up to Azuri. Under the contingency program for dry season 2023, the Central Water Authority has further identified several other measures to address the upcoming dry season, especially in water-stressed areas and black spots. These include drilling of new boreholes at Beaubois, Petite Retraite, Rouge-Terre, L'Amitié and Mapu, and laying of about 23 kilometers of pipelines for improved water supply. The borehole at Rouge-Terre Reservoir was commissioned on 16th October 2023. In various locations across the northern region, measures have been undertaken to enhance water supply and distribution as follows. A new HDPE pipeline have been laid in several places to improve water supply, namely from Jumbo Richter Bridge to motorway, La Louisa borehole to Hospital Road at Bois Rouge, Malinga to Crèvecoeur Reservoir, Tosca Road, Pied-la-Fourche to Ripine number 1, and Tosca Road to from Bovstor to Tulsidas Road. Moreover, at Bois Pignolet, the Central Water Authority has commissioned Vallombreuse borehole, and connection works along Port Louis pipeline have already been completed. The following projects are ongoing. Laying of HDPE pipeline from Aventure to Plaine des Roches Reservoir, Rouge-Terre Reservoir to Montchoisy, Restaurant Zananat Les Mariannes to Belvedere Road, New borehole to Vale Reservoir, Mapu to Mont-Piton Reservoir, new borehole at Solitude to Triolet and Pointe-au-Piment, and to L'Amitié Reservoir, as well as All Goodlands Reservoir. Commissioning of boreholes at New Petite Retraite, Bradou, Rouge-Terre and Solitude, drilling of boreholes at Beaubois Spring, Beaubois Malinga of an incremental volume of 2,400 m3 per day adjacent to Rouge-Terre Reservoir with an incremental volume of 6,000 m3 per day, at L'Amitié with an approximate incremental volume of some 2,000 to 2,500 m3 per day adjacent to existing borehole of Endemica with an approximate incremental volume of 2,000 to 2,500 m3 per day, at Triolet with an approximate 2,000 m3 per day, at Mapu with an approximate incremental volume of 2,000 m3 per day, and at Solitude with an approximate incremental volume of 2,000 m3 per day, and abstraction of approximately 4,000 to 4,500 m3 per day of water from Bassin Bradou. To mitigate water shortages, in addition, water tankers services are also available upon request to provide temporary relief to the population. Mr. Speaker, sir, these comprehensive measures have been put in place to ensure and improve water supply across various locations in the region during the forthcoming dry season. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to seize this opportunity also to make an appeal to the population to use water judiciously, especially in the coming dry season, as water scarcity is not just a challenge for our region, but across the globe. My appeal to the population is not one of mere conservation. It is a plea for sustainable coexistence with our environment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Also a long reply from the Minister. We notice that the resident is still having water supply disruption. Now, given the upcoming housing project involving more than 2,000 housing units in the northern part of the island, can the Honourable Minister inform the House how he will align with the increased water demand for these new housing unit projects in the near future without disrupting the existing water supply system?
Mr. Speaker, sir, let me tell the House that needful is already being done to supply the new housing units being constructed by government. Like the Honourable Member said, 8,000 units. This is the first time, I think, in the history of the country. But needful is being done by looking for additional boreholes in the regions where we are building those houses, and I can assure the House that the Central Water Authority is doing its level best to harness the maximum amount of water to be able to feed projects, not only those housing projects, but other projects which is in the pipeline by the government or by private entities in the country.
Can the Honourable Minister inform the House about the upgrading of filter bed at La Nicolia and the upgrading conservation of water at La Nicolia?
Mr. Speaker, sir, I do not have the exact information. I can furnish the exact information to the Honourable Member, but I can also tell the House that the Central Water Authority is actively working to be able to implement the project which has been mentioned by the Honourable Member, that is the upgrading of the La Nicolia reservoir and also of the treatment plant.
The table has been advised that the pending questions have been withdrawn. B1274, B1298, B1299, B1311, A5. Next question.
B1260.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as per the Mental Health Act 1998, there exists a provision for the setting up of the Mental Health Board, Mental Health Commission, and the Mental Health Care Accounts Committee to provide the conditions of admission of mental health patients, the conditions of treatment and living in mental health centers, and the rights of mental health patients at Brown-Séquard Mental Health Care Center. Under Section 3 of the Mental Health Care Act 1998, provision is made for the setting up of a mental health board which is responsible, inter alia, for the planning and management of the mental health care, protection of patients' rights, and the promotion of measures to ensure that patients are given appropriate care. Section 5 of the Act provides for the setting up of Mental Health Commission, which reviews the status of patients regularly and recommends the extension of their stay, and also deals with complaints received from patients, their relatives, and members of the public. Additionally, the Managerial Committee, as per Section 6A of the Mental Health Care, shall refer to the Commission complaints of patients, relatives, and visitors, and bring to the notice of the Commission any breach of discipline, professional misconduct, or violation of patients' rights. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that the patient, MSRI, has been following treatment at the Brown-Séquard Mental Health Care Center since 2017. The case of alleged brutality has been referred to the Managerial Committee for an investigation, and the patient has also filed a case of assault on 11th August 2023 at the police station.
L'honorable ministre, pourrait-il nous donner une indication sur le time frame concernant la fin de cette enquête?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Managerial Committee and the Mental Health Commission, they operate independently. It's not possible for me to interfere or give a time frame, but I'm sure it's not going to take more time than the expected time that has been done for the other cases whenever it's been referred to these committees.
L'honorable ministre est-il au courant qu'il y a eu pression exercée sur le père, le papa de mademoiselle R.I. pour que l'épisode de coup de serpillière, coup de mop, ne soit pas consigné au poste de police de Brown-Séquard?
Mr. Speaker, sir, case has been, there is a case of assault filed. Now, if ever there is anybody who has been putting pressure on the patient or the patient or the relative has to, as I have stated, there are so many commissions, boards who can who will be ready to attend to these complaints and will take appropriate action. So there are all the legal provision for these, for the protection of these mental patients.
Next question.
B1261.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the cooperative movement is a resilient force that has stood the test of time. In the years prior to 2015, the movement, once a symbol of empowerment and unity, had been left gasping for breath, struggling to fulfill its potential and promise. Neglected and forgotten, it yearned for the day when it could rekindle itself and play its role as a catalyst for economic and social progress. Mr. Speaker, sir, from the moment I assumed the role of Minister responsible for the cooperative sector, the advancement of the cooperative movement has been a topmost priority of this government. We have worked relentlessly to nurture the growth and development of cooperative societies. Our commitment has been steadfast, and the tangible results are a testament to our dedication. In each financial budget, we have consistently allocated substantial provisions for support measures, grant schemes, and infrastructural development. All these measures have been instrumental in empowering cooperatives across the country, fostering economic development and grassroots prosperity. Mr. Speaker, sir, with regard to the question put to me, I have been informed that since July 2022 to date, a total amount of 14.2 million rupees has been disbursed in favor of 114 cooperative societies. I'm tabling a list thereof. Mr. Speaker, sir, for financial year 2023-2024, a provision of 21 million rupees has been made for the following schemes: Boost to Local Scheme, Zero Budget Natural Farming Scheme, Goat Farming Scheme, Waste Recycling Scheme, Seedling Production Scheme. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to inform the House that an expression of interest to avail to the schemes has been lodged, and the closing date is scheduled for 30th November this year. In this respect, an open day event was organized recently by the cooperative division of my ministry to create awareness and sensitization. I am informed that cooperative societies are demonstrating an enthusiastic and heightened interest, I would rather say craze, for the above grant opportunities.
Speaker, can the Honourable Minister inform the House that was there prior to disbursement of funds to cooperative societies, was their form, was courses are valuable?
Yes, this is one of the criteria that the applicant has to show. He has to show evidence or proof that he has followed any course. And in the event that he has not followed any formal course, he has to prove that he has wide or ample experience in the field.
Honourable Minister informs the House what is being done through his ministry to attract more women and youngsters toward cooperative societies.
Yes, en effet, il y a un vieillissement de la population des coopératives, and much is being done to attract youth and women as well. Well, training programs are structured in such a way that do attract youth and women, and at the end of the courses, certificates and diplomas are being awarded. And I have noted that there are many youth who are coming to follow these courses. On the other hand, sensitization campaigns are also being held, where the target audience are women and youth. And with regard to the CSU programs which are being run during the weekend, the CSU also grant one desk where much information is being provided to youth and women as well.
Thank you. B1262.
Mr. Speaker, I am tabling the particulars of the 22 applications received at my ministry since December 2015 for lease of state land in the region of Ancelare Youth Club, to use the language of the parliamentary question put.
Hold on a minute, I just get the list. Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Maybe the question will be for next time.
No, it's coming.
Okay, I give you more time to get prepared.
Thank you.
Are you prepared?
Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether all companies that have submitted application for this have been scrutinized insofar as their due diligence is concerned? Because sometimes companies, from information that we have, companies are being created only for the purpose of beneficiating lease, and then subsequently they get the lease transferred to other people for the sake of a huge sum of monies.
Mr. Speaker, sir, first, I believe we should not refer to companies, because I note from the document tabled that there are some applications in individual names. That is not companies per se. Now, my understanding of the procedure is that individuals or companies or promoters of whatsoever nature can apply for lease of state land according to the standard forms and procedures laid down. At an appropriate time, these applications are considered by the Ministry of Housing and Land Use Planning. If the occasion does arise, and thereafter, in the case of such developments, referred to the Economic Development Board for due diligence, following which the matter goes back to the Ministry of Housing, and in case there is a decision, goes to government for approval before any lease is awarded.
One such company is Luxury Suites Limited, belonging to Mr. Vinascopi. I've looked at the registrar of company, and this company, since its setup, has had no transaction at all, and has only a net asset value of 10,000 rupees, and a net liability of 10,000 rupees. So since its creation, it has done no transaction at all, except for these two figures appearing in terms of assets and liability. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether this company is a serious company being considered for this project?
I am not privy to the information being imparted to the House by the Honourable Gentleman. Now, the Honourable Member is referring to this project. I am not quite sure what he is referring to, but in the context of the development of this region, a letter of reservation has been issued to Luxury Suites Limited.
In Parliament.
So the table had been advised that the following questions: B 1264, B 1271, B 1277, B 1284, B 1288, B 1292, B 1301, B 1309, B 1313, B 1270, B 1276, B1280, B1285, B1291, B1295, B1302, B1312. These questions have been withdrawn. Time is over.
Motion.
Motion.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10.
Seconded. The question that all the business on today's order paper be exempted from the provisions of paragraph 2 of Standing Order 10. Those in favor say aye, those against say no. Aye. The ayes have it.
Statements by ministers.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to make a statement on the incident that occurred in the late evening of Saturday, 21st October 2023, during a concert organized by Attitude Hospitality Management Limited at Citadel Fort in the context of the celebration of the 15th anniversary of Attitude Hotel Group. In relation to that event, I am informed that necessarily clearances were sought and obtained by the organizers from all relevant authorities. This musical event was attended by some 1,500 persons, including families and children from all layers of our multicultural society. According to the information obtained from the police on the incident, a group of persons, some of whom were hooded and masked, forced their way inside the Citadel Fort and disrupted the event. Police officers intervened to prevent the situation running out of control. No casualty was reported. Police immediately started its investigation, and so far, 13 persons have been arrested. The police inquiry, which has been entrusted to the MCIT of the CCID, is ongoing. Mr. Speaker, sir, I strongly condemn such act of intimidation, violence, and damaging of property by a group of persons. I will under no circumstance tolerate such behavior. I have already requested the Commissioner of Police to step up security measures and ensure that such an incident does not recur. Necessary measures have also been put in place to identify ill-intentioned persons who may attempt to disrupt social harmony through social media platforms. Action will be taken against the defaulters. Government will take all necessary measures to ensure that law, order, and peace are maintained in our country. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with your kind permission and for the benefit of the House, I would like to make a statement on the situation in the Middle East and on the stance of Mauritius regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. Mr. Speaker, sir, since January 2023, there has been an escalation of violence between the Israeli authorities and the Palestine forces. After a new surge of violence on 7th April 2023, my ministry issued a communiqué deploring the acts of violence perpetrated against Palestinian worshippers at Al-Aqsa Mosque at such a sacred time for the Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Mauritius also called upon all parties to exercise restraint and refrain from taking action that escalate tensions. My esteemed colleague, Honorable Alan Ganu, then Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, made a statement in the House on 11th April 2023, highlighting the principled stance of Mauritius on the Israeli-Palestine conflict. He recalled that Mauritius had voted in favor of all United Nations resolutions condemning the illegal occupation of territories by Israel and ensuing blatant violations of human rights. As the House is aware, in the morning of 7th October 2023, Hamas militants from Gaza launched an unprecedented combined air, land, and sea attacks on Israel, leading to the killings of hundreds of civilians, causing hundreds of casualties and resulting in the taking of more than 200 hostages, including women and children. Like many countries, Mauritius promptly issued a communiqué on 8 October 2023 expressing deep concern over the unprecedented attacks perpetrated in Israel, which had claimed the lives of hundreds of persons and causing injury to numerous civilians on both sides. The communiqué also highlighted that Mauritius stands in solidarity with the families of all victims of this conflict and condemns all acts of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Mauritius called upon all parties concerned to refrain from taking actions that would spiral to more violence. Once again, Mauritius reiterated its long-standing position on the support of the two-state solution, with Israel and Palestine coexisting side by side for an enduring peace. Mr. Speaker, sir, the United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting on 8 October 2023, demanding a unanimous condemnation of these attacks. But following deliberations, the members could not agree on the release of a statement capturing the essence of their preoccupations. As violence spread across the occupied territories, on 9 October 2023, Israel announced that it would completely cut off essential supplies, namely food, water, and electricity to Gaza with immediate effect, leading to calls from human rights activists and the international community condemning this decision. To make matters worse, on 13 October 2023, the Israeli authorities ordered the evacuation within 24 hours of over 1 million civilians from the northern part of Gaza to the southern part of the enclave, thus aggravating the humanitarian crisis. In this rapidly deteriorating situation, a strike against Al-Ahli Hospital on 17 October 2023 caused numerous loss of lives. My ministry issued a communiqué on the next day, reiterating its solidarity with the families of all the victims in this conflict and calling on all parties to implement an immediate ceasefire. In reaction to the humanitarian crisis, the United Nations Secretary General issued a statement underlining that Israel's ultimatum is, I quote, extremely dangerous and simply not possible as even wars have rules, end of quote. Mauritius supports the stance of the UN Secretary General proposing the setting up of a humanitarian corridor to facilitate the passage of refugees and for the supply of basic necessities. Mauritius joins the international community in calling for the unconditional release of all hostages. In that regard, Mauritius commends all parties involved in negotiations for the release of some hostages as from 20th October 2023. We hope that the release of more hostages will follow. Mauritius fully supports all the ongoing efforts aimed at diffusing the crisis and commends Egypt for hosting the conference on the Middle East. The summit's primary aim was to foster peace and stability through the advancement of the stalled peace process. Mauritius continues to follow the situation and supports the various initiatives to set the peace process between Israel and Palestine on the international agenda anew. This is the only pathway for a resolution of this long-standing issue. My ministry and our diplomatic missions are contributing in the process by voicing our concerns. We believe that the international community can collectively address the issue through negotiations. Mr. Speaker, sir, while on this matter, I would like to inform the House that hours after the attacks by Hamas, my ministry took a preemptive approach, anticipating requests for consular assistance from Mauritian nationals who might be stranded in Israel. Our embassy in Cairo and our honorary consulate in Tel Aviv were requested to be on readiness mode for providing consular assistance as may be required. A communiqué was issued on Sunday, 8 October 2023, informing the public that a hotline had been set up at my ministry to respond to calls and requests for assistance from Mauritian nationals stranded in Israel. My ministry was informed of the presence of 3 groups of Mauritian pilgrims of different faiths, consisting of a total of 62 nationals who were stranded in Israel. My ministry had consultations with our honorary consul in Israel, the honorary consul of Israel in Mauritius, and representatives of the different groups in Mauritius. I wish to inform that these concerted efforts ensured the exit of all the stranded Mauritian nationals from Israel and their safe return to Mauritius. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I wish to make a statement to bring some clarification on the recent incidents reported in the media regarding child daycare centers, which have raised grave concerns among our citizens. The illegal operation of such centers not only jeopardizes the well-being of our children, but also poses significant security risks. It is a matter of urgency to ensure that all child daycare centers comply with the Child Daycare Centers Regulations of 2022. In light of the Children's Act of 2020, particularly Section 34, it is imperative that every individual, whether a professional, official, or concerned citizen, understands their moral and legal responsibility to report any suspicion or evidence of a child in danger. The Act does not merely suggest, but demands this vigilance, with severe legal repercussions for negligence, including fines and imprisonment. Between January 2022 and 19th October 2023, enforcement officers of my ministry undertook 1,714 inspections of child daycare centers to ensure compliance with the 2022 regulation, to issue registration certificates, and to sanction those centers in violation by halting their operations. While the ministry remains steadfast in its efforts to regulate the child daycare centers, the clandestine operation of illegal centers remains a significant challenge. To address this, my ministry has garnered a multidisciplinary team closely tied with the community to identify and act against non-compliant centers. I would like, Mr. Speaker, sir, to put on record our gratitude to the Office of the Ombudsperson for Children for their unwavering support in these endeavors. Our collaboration with the police has been pivotal, their expertise being instrumental in ensuring the safety of our children. From 11 to 19th of October 2023, the multidisciplinary team conducted 133 inspections, out of which 11 illegal child daycare centers were identified across the island. Furthermore, we urge parents to understand the importance of enrolling their children in registered child daycare centers. It is not only about adhering to the rules, but fundamentally about the child's safety and well-being. The second report of the Public Accounts Committee of 2022 sheds light on a number of CDCCs operating without registration. As at October 2023, commendable progress has been achieved with 175 CDCCs now registered, 119 deregistered, and 21 still pending registration. Between 2022 and October this year, 68 child daycare centers were mandated to cease operations due to severe non-compliance. Mr. Speaker, sir, the list of the registered child daycare centers is available on the website of my ministry. The challenges, while daunting, cannot and will not be a hindrance in ensuring the safety of our children. Cash grants have been initiated to encourage registration, with a review underway to ensure its effective disbursement. Furthermore, the grant scheme has been enhanced and standardized procedures for sanctions and training are being put in place. To further aid parents, a monthly CSG child allowance of 2,000 rupees has been introduced for children aged up to 3 years. The grant in aid for upgrading child daycare centers has been increased to 650,000 rupees. Employers with more than 250 employees are now mandated under the Workers' Rights Act to provide child daycare facilities. We are also exploring public-private partnerships to set up public child daycare centers in primary areas and providing incentives for private entities to establish such centers. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, ensuring the safety and well-being of our children is a collective responsibility. The state machinery is actively addressing this, but we need every stakeholder, every parent, every guardian to join us in this endeavor. I urge our parents, our family members, our population at large to report any concerns or suspicions about illegal child care centers to my ministry and other appropriate institutions so that we are able to investigate and take appropriate actions. Let us come together to provide our children with a safe environment they rightfully deserve. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for your attention.
Public Bill, first reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Mauritius Commercial Bank Foundation Amendment Bill number 14 of 2023 be read the first time.
Seconded.
Public Bill, second reading.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move that the Fisheries Bill number 13 of 2023 be read a second time. Monsieur le Président, si vous me le permettez, avant de rentrer plus en détail dans les spécificités de cette nouvelle loi, je tiens à présenter le contexte ainsi que ses tenants et aboutissants. En effet, le public est en droit de se demander quel est au fond le but de cette loi. Ce projet de loi est le fruit d'une longue réflexion au sein de mon ministère, d'une concertation avec l'industrie de la pêche et des recommandations d'institutions internationales. The main objective of the Fisheries Bill, Mr. Speaker, sir, is to repeal the Fisheries and Marine Resources Act of 2007 and replace it with a more robust legislative framework taking into consideration the rapid development of the fisheries sector worldwide and in Mauritius. The fisheries sector, also referred to as the seafood sector, represents an important segment of the Mauritian economy. During the financial year 2022-2023, the total local fish production amounted to 38,279 tons, including 33,871 tons of tuna and associated species, as well as 1,680 tons of aquaculture products. During the same financial year, 90,588 tons of seafood products valued at around 16.5 billion rupees were exported, representing 19.03% of our total exports, mainly to the European market and the United Kingdom. This sector also provides 10,000 direct and 12,000 indirect employment. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mauritius, as a small island development state, has always stood up as a nation that promotes sustainable fishing. In 2016, Mauritius has made two proposals to the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission to ensure the sustainability of fish stocks that were adopted, namely a proposal to ban the use of light on the drifting fish aggregating devices to attract fish, and a second proposal to ban the use of aircraft and unmanned aerial vehicles as fishing aid. Moreover, during the last Indian Ocean Tuna Commission meeting in Mauritius in May 2023, we put forward a resolution which with regards to a voluntary 1 month closure of all gear to sustainably manage the available tuna fish stocks. This resolution was adopted unanimously by all member states, being given that it will promote sustainability by protecting and conserving tuna stocks in the Indian Ocean region. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government is aiming to maximize the potential of the fisheries sector in the coming years, and this can only be achieved with the support of a strong and appropriate legislation. The actual Act does not give my ministry the required flexibility to address the changing needs of a modern and dynamic fisheries environment. It fails to address important issues which relate, among others, to the fight against illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing, known as IUU fishing, and effective port-state control measures. Some of the provision in the Act are also not aligned to relevant international obligations concerning conservation and management of living marine resources. Monsieur le Président, notre philosophie au sein de ce gouvernement est de considérer la réalité du terrain pour s'adapter et proposer des réformes qui seront pertinentes pour notre société et notre économie. C'est pourquoi nous sommes arrivés à la conclusion que la loi actuelle est inadaptée aux enjeux et défis de cette industrie clé pour notre économie et notre sécurité alimentaire. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill will allow my ministry to fulfill its duty of stewardship toward the fisheries and marine ecosystems of Mauritius. Our valued marine fisheries will become more resilient to climate change while supporting healthy marine ecosystems. In this respect, an ecosystem approach will be applied to the management and development of fisheries and aquaculture in order to promote the health of the general marine environment. The general objective of this bill will be to ensure the long-term conservation, management, and development of fisheries and aquaculture in Mauritius, while safeguarding the marine resources, biodiversity, environment, and ecosystem for the benefit of our population and future generations. Mr. Speaker, sir, in drafting the bill, due consideration has also been given to the recommendation made by the Directorate General for Maritime Affairs and Fisheries of the European Commission, referred to as DG Mare. The main recommendations are as follows. Number one, definitions should be more consistent and aligned with the port state measures agreements to which Mauritius is a party and the relevant regional fisheries management organization. Number two, transshipment to be in line with the FAO voluntary guidelines. Number three, offences to be classified in terms of gravity and size of vessels. And last, monitoring, control and surveillance provisions to be strengthened. Monsieur le Président, la conformité avec les recommandations de la Commission européenne est la contrepartie nécessaire pour que nos produits continuent à avoir accès au marché commun européen. Il s'agit avant tout de sauvegarder cet accès et de ce fait la pérennité économique de notre industrie. Il y a également l'introduction du concept de traçabilité des produits de la pêche et des contrôles au niveau du port. La réalité du terrain apporte aussi un autre éclairage sur la question puisque nous avons des retours de la part de l'industrie de la pêche et ils ont été pris en compte dans la mesure du possible pour aboutir à cette loi. Nous avons connu plusieurs événements traumatiques tels que des naufrages et accidents liés au secteur maritime. De plus, nous avons l'obligation d'agir conformément aux réglementations internationales pour ce qui est de la gestion pérenne de nos ressources marines dans une optique de développement durable. Ces défis nous obligent à nous adapter et à être plus pragmatiques dans notre approche pour permettre à l'industrie de la pêche de continuer à prospérer à l'avenir. Mr. Speaker, sir, with your permission, I will elaborate on some of the main clauses in this bill. Part 1 of the bill provides for the definitions and terms used therein. The definition has been reviewed and made more consistent, clearer, and aligned with the Port State Measures Agreement to which, as I said, Mauritius is a party, the relevant regional fisheries management organizations such as the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission and the South Indian Ocean Fisheries Association, and other international norms under the Food and Agricultural Organization and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, among others. New definitions have also been introduced to address the shortcomings in the current legislation and also to keep pace with developments in the fisheries sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, the law will apply to all areas which Mauritius exercises jurisdiction or sovereign rights, all fishing and fishing-related activities, all persons, vessels, vehicles, export facilities, or other craft or places engaged in any activity falling under the Act, and all persons, including non-citizens, and all vessels, including foreign and stateless, in relation to the maritime zones of Mauritius and areas beyond our national jurisdiction in case of pursuit. Monsieur le Président, notre industrie de la pêche est confrontée à une forte augmentation des activités illégales qui s'étendent de la pêche illégale dans nos eaux territoriales par des navires battant pavillon étranger aux délits minaires commis par nos pêcheurs locaux, en passant par le trafic de drogue. Cette nouvelle loi est à la hauteur des nouveaux défis de la criminalité dans ce secteur. Notre objectif est de réguler, de contrôler et de sanctionner lorsque cela est nécessaire et en collaboration avec d'autres ministères, départements et institutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, Part 2 of the bill, under the title Objectives and Principles, lays down the general principles that would govern the functions, duties, and responsibilities to be performed under the Act, such are the following. Number one, all fisheries and aquaculture resources of Mauritius shall be the natural assets and heritage of the people of Mauritius and shall be managed, developed, and used sustainably for the present and future generations. Number two, conservation and management measures shall be based on the best technical knowledge and international practices and shall be consistent with our obligations and commitments under the relevant international agreements. And thirdly, application of a precautionary approach to the management and development of fisheries that is equal or superior to the standard provided under any applicable international instrument or agreement. Part 2 also provides for my ministry to establish and promote a system of collaboration, participatory decision-making, good governance, and transparency in the conservation, management, and development of fisheries and aquaculture in Mauritius. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fisheries Bill also caters for the recommendation made at paragraph 11.6.6, section C of the Lam Shan Lin report on drug trafficking, in order to allow my ministry to have a better control over fishing and fishing-related activities. It will be mandatory for fishers to notify the relevant authorities of the proposed dates for proceeding on fishing expeditions. Likewise, they will be required to inform of the expected dates of arrival and the location where they intend to unload their catch. Artisanal fishers will also be assigned a specific mooring places to moor their boats when not on fishing trips. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm aware that it would be tedious for the artisanal fishers to comply with the obligation to notify the Fisheries Protection Service of their proposed dates of departure and arrival. In order to ensure that the recommendation made in the Lam Shan Lin report is implemented, my ministry will provide registered fishers with an appropriate communication device that would allow them to communicate with the nearest fisheries post at all times. The onus will also be on the officers of the Fisheries Protection Service to ensure that a proper communication is maintained with the registered fishers so as to know their whereabouts. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, given the complexity to fully implement this measure, I'm of the opinion that non-compliance with this section of the law should not be considered as a criminal offense. Accordingly, I will move that clause 123, paragraph 7 and the 5th schedule to the bill be amended at committee stage to remove the penalty that has been provided in this connection. Mr. Speaker, sir, our marine ecosystem faces a myriad of threats. These threats, among many others, include global warming, overfishing, industrial coastal developments, and pollution. Part 4 of the bill provides for the development, implementation, monitoring, and enforcement of conservation and management measures to ensure the long-term sustainable use of fisheries and aquaculture resources, including its implementation. The Part 4 of the bill also makes provision of the implementation of fisheries management plans with a view to achieving and maintaining the sustainable exploitation of fishery resources, counteracting and preventing overfishing, and ensuring high and long-term yields. The fisheries management plan will be applicable in the sub-regional, regional and international context. Monsieur le Président, je tiens à préciser que les parties prenantes de cette industrie, et notamment les pêcheurs artisanaux, auront les mots à dire lorsque leur participation dans la gestion de leurs zones de pêche est inscrite dans cette nouvelle loi à travers les stakeholder consultations. Cette loi est donc inclusive et en adéquation avec les intérêts et les devoirs de l'ensemble des acteurs économiques du secteur de la pêche. Mr. Speaker, sir, marine mammals are vital to the balance of marine ecosystems and are key indicators of the overall health of the ocean, but we do not currently have adequate measures to protect our marine mammals. To address this shortcoming, new conservation and management measures have been introduced in the bill to prohibit, among others, commercial wading, removal and sale of shark fin, use of large-scale drift nets and demersal trawl nets, deployment of data buoys in the maritime zone of Mauritius, use of aircrafts and unmanned aerial vehicles as a fishing aid without authorization, as well as the use of artificial light to attract fish, among others. In the same vein, the bill also provides for measures to maintain the stock of targeted species and protect threatened and endangered species. Mr. Speaker, sir, the fight against IUU fishing is high on our agenda. IUU fishing deprives fishers of their rightful catch, undermines conservation efforts, and poses serious economic and environmental challenges. This bill seeks to combat IUU fishing and ensure sustainable fishing in the exclusive economic zone of Mauritius through the introduction of new elements that are not catered for in the actual act. This bill takes on board our regional and international obligation as a flag state, a coastal state, and a port state. It also takes into account international instruments which have been developed for the management of world fishery resources, including resolution of the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, which establishes a series of legal binding measures. Mr. Speaker, sir, while provision for the fight against IUU fishing is predominant over the whole bill, Part 5 specifically makes provision for compliance and reporting measures. The actual law does not provide for adequate measures to compel fishers and fishing vessel operators to strictly comply with conditions of their licenses and to properly report the activities to my ministry for the purpose of control and surveillance. These lacunas have been addressed in this bill. Part 5 of the Fisheries Bill makes clear provisions to ensure that registered fishers and fishing vessel operators comply with the condition of their licenses. Moreover, to ensure that the reporting requirements pursuant to the Act or to an international conservation and measure are met. Clause 46 makes clear and detailed provisions for the manner in which the report should be submitted. The requirements for the vessels to report entry into and exit from our maritime zone have also been reinforced and made more stringent. Legal provision is being made for both Mauritian and foreign fishing vessel operators to use electronic means to report the exact position, speed, and species on board to my ministry as close to real time as possible. Moreover, operators of fishing vessels would henceforth be legally bound to comply with the requirement of labor conditions with respect to the personnel on board the vessels. Provision is also being made to prevent any person who is a member of or associated with a transnational criminal group to engage in any activity under the bill. Mr. Speaker, sir, over the last few months, we have witnessed several incidents involving fishing vessels in our waters. While some fishing vessels caught fire, others were grounded on our coral reefs. As a coastal state with sensitive ecosystems, it is imperative that wrecked vessels or part thereof be removed at the earliest to avoid negative impact on the marine environment and hazards to safe navigation. The current legislation does not address this issue in an adequate manner, as a result of which the removal of these wrecks proved to be a lengthy and tedious process. In order to address this shortcoming, new provisions have been made at Clause 36 for the removal of wrecks, management of abandoned vessels, deregistration of fishing vessels, and issue of stop order for illegal structures. Henceforth, the operators of the fishing vessel concerned would be legally bound to bear all the restoration costs related to any damage caused to the coral reef or marine ecosystem in the event the vessel is involved in a grounding, discharge of any deleterious substance, oil spill, or an accident at sea. Mr. Speaker, sir, provision being made under Part 6, Subpart A of the bill for my ministry to sign fisheries access agreements to authorize access in the maritime zones of Mauritius for fishing or fishing-related activities by foreign fishing vessels. The access agreements with other fishing nations in the Indian Ocean will allow the Mauritian flag vessel to fish in their waters. Likewise, foreign fishing vessels from those nations would also be authorized to fish in our waters as per the conditions specified under the agreements. The bill also provides for Mauritius flag vessels to be licensed to fish in foreign waters in relation to which there is no agreement between Mauritius and the states concerned. In this case, it will be mandatory for the Mauritius fishing vessel to obtain the prior authorization of my ministry. This provision will allow my ministry not only to combat IUU fishing, but also to uphold sustainable fisheries measures. Subpart B makes provision for my ministry to approve joint ventures and charter agreements of any foreign fishing vessel for the purpose of fishing or fishing-related activities in the maritime zone of Mauritius. This is an important measure that will allow my ministry to ensure that persons engaged in criminal or illegal activities do not make use of such agreements to fish in our waters. This is a major shortcoming in our current law, which is being addressed in this bill. Part 6 also provides that a foreign fishing vessel may be required as a precondition to the issue of a fishing license by my ministry to furnish a performance bond. This performance bond will serve as a financial insurance for the fulfillment of all obligations arising out of the license and the Act, including potential costs relating to rescue, recovery of other costs and fines, penalties, or compensation in contravention of the Act. While determining whether an operator would be required to submit a performance bond, the following will inter alia be taken into account. First, the level of compliance by the vessel and the operator, and second, any risk of non-compliance with the Act or any other relevant enactment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the definition of fleet segments have been reviewed and established in this fisheries bill. To be consistent with IUTC definitions, artisanal vessels, semi-industrial vessels, industrial vessels, Mauritius fishing vessels, among others, have been redefined. Fines have also been categorized according to the respective fleet segments. Mr. Speaker, sir, Part 7 of the Fisheries Bill is introducing new provisions in relation to fish farming and aquaculture. These provisions will allow a modern approach to fisheries management that would allow us to face the challenges of declining wild fish stocks, overfishing, and climate change. The development of aquaculture will ensure a sustainable supply of seafood without putting additional pressure on wild fisheries. The term aquaculture, as defined under the FAO guidelines, has been introduced in the Fisheries Bill. Provision under Part 7 of the bill pertain to the regulation of and support for sustainable aquaculture practices in Mauritius through the clear environmental and animal welfare standards for aquaculture operations. Mr. Speaker, sir, these provisions will allow the mitigation of potential negative impacts of aquaculture and ensure that this sector operates in harmony with our broader conservation goals. The management of disease outbreak in fish farms has also been specified in the bill, where provision have been made to monitor and assess the health condition of fish under culture in a fish farm. Moreover, a legal framework has been provided to cater for research activities on genetically modified aquatic organisms or genetic engineering activities in aquaculture. Fish farming zones are being prescribed in the third schedule to the bill for the development of aquaculture at designated sites, both in lagoon and off lagoon. 4 new off lagoon sites have been designated in consultation with all relevant stakeholders to ensure that these sites do not obstruct navigational passages or hinder tourist activities. The same principle is adopted when prescribing in lagoon fish farming zones. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fisheries Bill seeks to facilitate business in the fisheries sector. In this context, provision has been made at Clause 84 for a trusted trader certificate for the importation of fish and fish products. This certificate will streamline procedures for the import and export of fish and fish products by trusted traders. Nevertheless, provision has also been made for the suspension or cancellation of the certificate for a breach of the attached conditions. Monsieur le Président, avec cette nouvelle loi, nous permettons également aux opérateurs économiques d'obtenir plus de clarté sur des aspects tels que des activités de pêche dans des zones extraterritoriales ou encore le permis nécessaire pour l'importation de produits de la pêche en ayant toujours à l'esprit ces soucis de la prise en compte des défis que nous impose la protection de notre écosystème et de nos ressources naturelles marines. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a means to protect the ecosystem in our water bodies, provision is also made in the bill for the control of the importation of live fish in Mauritius. The provisions for quarantine facilities for live ornamental fish have been made more explicit, and new provisions have been made to prohibit the disposal or release of ornamental fish in any water body so as to protect our endemic species. Part 9 of the bill deals with information, data, and statistics. It is no secret that with the development of technology, the world today is data-driven. The actual Act does not adequately address the requirements for the establishment of a modern information system that would allow my ministry to meet national, regional, and international requirements relating to information and data. Monsieur le Président, nous devons aussi prendre en compte des avancées technologiques, comme je viens d'annoncer, aussi bien en termes de gestion des données dans notre zone économique exclusive, pour les procédures administratives concernant les opérateurs économiques, que pour l'émergence de nouveaux secteurs économiques. Oui, un nouveau système d'information est primordial pour la collecte et le maintien des bases de données qui seront exploitées par la suite, comme les données de ship tracking, par exemple. This shortcoming, Mr. Speaker, sir, has been addressed in the bill through provision for the establishment of the required information system, together with the type of information that would be required from person carrying out activities under the Act, as well as the obligation on that person to provide true, complete, and correct information. Provision has also been made for public access to information not classified as confidential under the Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, the registration and licensing of fishing and fishing-related activities constitute one very important activity of my ministry. Part 10 of the bill specifically deals with this matter. Provision relating to the licensing and registration of fishing and fishing-related vessels have been revamped under this bill with a view to enhancing accountability, conservation efforts, the fight against IUU fishing, and the sustainability of our fisheries. The licensing and registration of fishing and fishing-related vessels are crucial tools for the effective regulation and management of our fisheries. These measures not only provide the means to track and monitor fishing activities, but also play a pivotal role in enforcing the rules and regulations set forth to protect our marine resources. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fisheries Bill aims at establishing a robust licensing and registration system with clear criteria and standards for the obtention of licenses and renewal procedures. These provisions are essential for ensuring that only responsible and accountable individuals and entities are allowed to engage in fishing and fishing-related activities. The bill also introduces the use of modern technology and data management system to improve the efficiency of licensing and registration processes. This innovation will reduce bureaucracy and improve the accuracy of tracking fishing activities. Such technology can help the authorities to monitor and enforce compliance with catch limits, size restrictions, and seasonal closures, thus contributing to the conservation of our fish stocks. One major shortcoming in the present Act that has been addressed in this bill is that henceforth all vessels engaged in fishing and fishing-related activities will be registered by the supervising officer of my ministry. Under the current legislation, fishing vessels above 24 meters and made of steel hull amendment are registered under the Merchant Shipping Act. The new bill provides that all fishing and fishing-related vessels, irrespective of the length and hull material, will be registered by the supervising officer of my ministry. However, in order to ensure that all the requirements of the Merchant Shipping Act are being met, the Fisheries Bill is making provision for the signature of a memorandum of understanding between the Director of Shipping and the Director of Fisheries to formalize the procedures that would be followed for the registration of steel hull fishing vessels above 24 meters of length. The bill also makes provision for the supervising officer of my ministry to suspend or cancel the registration, license, or authorization granted to a fishing vessel that has been contravened for not complying with any applicable international conservation and management measure or to any term and condition attached to the registration, license, and authorization. With regards to the licensing of fishing vessels, the bill outlines in a more structured manner the procedures for granting licenses to foreign vessels, joint venture vessels, and Mauritius fishing vessels. It also establishes the requirement for tracking, monitoring, and inspecting fishing vessels, and it specifies the fees and bonds associated with various fishing licenses. Mr. Speaker, sir, Part 10 of the bill also provides for the registration of artisanal fishers, bank fishers, and trainee fishers. As per provision in the bill, no person will be allowed to engage on fishing activities without being registered with my ministry. However, the bill does not cater for bank fishers who are not required to be registered as such with my ministry, as well as persons who are company registered fishers for fishing trips on registered fishing vessels. Accordingly, I will move for an amendment to be brought to clause 120 of the bill at committee stage to exempt these categories of fishers from the requirement of being registered with my ministry. Mr. Speaker, sir, new measures and conditions have been introduced for the exploration of untapped resources in the EZ of Mauritius. This would allow better control of activities with the possibility of identifying new fishing grounds and improved knowledge of fish stocks and untapped resources. In this context, a licensing system has been introduced in the Fisheries Bill, which will allow the conduct of exploratory fishing with due regard to the protection of the marine environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Fisheries Protection Service, commonly known as FPS, is an enforcement arm of our ministry. The FPS, together with the National Coast Guard and other relevant authorities, are responsible to carry out monitoring, control, and surveillance duties. However, the Fisheries and Marine Resources Act does not empower these officers to carry out their duties effectively. Part 11 of the Fisheries Bill has addressed this shortcoming by making provision for the functions and powers of the fisheries control officers as well as the fisheries enforcement officers. Mr. Speaker, sir, in fact, due to an error in the bill, I will move again that clauses 140, Section 1, 140, Section 2, 141, Section 1, 142, Section 1, 142, Section 2, and 142, Section 3 be amended at committee stage to replace term Fisheries Control Officer by Fisheries Enforcement Officer. Mr. Speaker, sir, the obligation for operators of fishing vessels to have an observer on board the vessel during the fishing trip is a strong deterrent against IUU fishing. The Fisheries Bill is providing for the appointment of observers by the supervising officer or my ministry for deployment on fishing vessels. The responsibilities of the observers have also been defined. Mr. Speaker, sir, the safety of crew members and especially the safety of the observer placed on the vessel is of prime importance. Owners will be on the mast of the vessel to ensure the safety of both the vessel and each person on board until the vessel arrives at the designated port. Mr. Speaker, as mentioned earlier, the use of an information system for effective monitoring and control of fishing activities in a way that cannot be undermined. The bill is making provision for licensed fishing vessels to be equipped with transponders to allow my ministry to monitor the activities through the vessel monitoring system and the automatic information system in order to ensure compliance with this section. The bill also provides for my ministry to have a formal fisheries monitoring center that should be properly equipped to monitor the activities of these fishing vessels. Mr. Speaker, sir, the provision for port state measures made at subpart E establishes an additional tool to effectively combat IUU fishing. This part provides for conditions for entry of fishing vessels in the port, including prerequisites for entry and use of Port of Mauritius, denial of entry into port and use of port, conduct of inspection of fishing vessels in the port, among others. Mr. Speaker, sir, subpart F deals with presumption of IUU fishing and fishing-related activities and action in relation to fishing vessels on the IUU vessel list. This is a new element that has been introduced in this bill. Henceforth, the necessary legal framework is being provided to deal with fishing vessels that are presumed to have engaged in IUU fishing or fishing-related activities, as well as action to be taken in relation to fishing vessels of regional fisheries management organizations. Mr. Speaker, sir, Part 12 sets out well-defined conditions for disposal, release, and forfeiture of seized items, which was not provided for under the Fisheries and Marine Resources Act 2007. This lacuna has been addressed in the bill, which provides for clear and transparent manners to deal to this matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, one major innovation in the bill concerns evidence that may be used in the prosecution of persons who have breached provisions of the Act. With the development of new technologies, we cannot remain static and continue with our traditional procedures. Part 15 of the bill makes new provision for the use of photographic evidence, location of fishing vessels, evidence of position fixing instruments, vessel monitoring system evidence, and satellite-based evidence to be used in court. The bill also provides for the use of the notion of presumption for the prosecution of any person deemed to have contravened the Act. Any person who interferes with any evidence shall also be liable to prosecution. Mr. Speaker, sir, another significant amendment is the introduction of a more structured sanctioning system in the Fisheries Bill. The penalties provided in the current Act are not strong enough to deter illegal fishing and fishing-related activities. Provisions have accordingly been made in the bill for tougher penalties, with fines equating to multiples of the estimated value derived from the infraction. The offences and penalties are classified in terms of gravity of offence while taking into account the size of the vessel. Part 14 of the bill provides for administrative proceedings, which are faster and less costly than court proceedings. The bill is providing for the setting up of an administrative sanction commission, along with the procedures for the functioning of that commission. The responsibility of the commission will be to determine the amount of administrative penalty to be paid by a person who has contravened the Act. However, this part will not apply to a person who has committed a criminal offence under any other enactment, notwithstanding that such an offence may also constitute an offence under the Fisheries Act, or to a person who has committed an offence relating to trans-international organized crime. Mr. Speaker, sir, the legal frameworks and the sanctions provided in the current Act are outdated and too limited in most instances. The sanctions that have been provided for international and national fishery offences are so insignificant that they have failed to create the deterrent effect they were supposed to create. The penalty scheme have been reviewed at Part 16 of the bill to ensure that the penalties are commensurate with the benefits derived from IUU fishing are in place. We have taken the opportunity to harmonize the levels of fine in the fisheries bill with those in the regional Southwest Indian Ocean countries, such as Tanzania, Somalia, and Sri Lanka. Offences have been classified in terms of gravity, and the penalties have been differentiated by the size of vessels in order to avoid large gaps between minimum and maximum penalties. Mr. Speaker, sir, the determination of fines to be imposed for an offence under the Fisheries Bill have been made more strict to ensure its effectiveness in securing compliance and to deter violation wherever they occur. Moreover, the levels of fines have been worked out according to national and international requirements and best practices in relation to serious offences, including the definition in international fisheries instruments. An aggravated fine has also been imposed for offences involving assault, obstruction, or bribery of any person carrying out duties and responsibilities under the Act. Under the Act, also damage to gear of fishing vessels, personal injury, loss of life, illegal fishing, forgery, or damage to the environment. Mr. Speaker, sir, another clause in the bill, in this bill is the introduction of fixed penalties for minor offences committed mainly by artisanal fishers and fishmongers. A person who has been caught contravening the law will be required to either accept a fixed penalty notice, in which case he will be required to pay a fixed penalty of 5,000 rupees, or agree that the offence to be reported with a view to proceedings being initiated against him before a court of law. Mr. Speaker, sir, in order to avoid conflict with provision made in other legislation, consequential amendments are being brought to the Beach Authority Act, the Environment Protection Act, and the Merchant Shipping Act. Mr. Speaker, sir, the drafting of the Fisheries Bill has proved to be a very lengthy exercise. In view of the wide encompassing provisions made in the bill, my ministry has ensured that all relevant ministries, departments, and other stakeholders have been consulted. As far as possible, all requests and representation made by the community of fishers and the private sector have also been taken on board. I will invite members of this August Assembly to make constructive suggestions on the bill. Let us not forget that seafood is the only natural resource of our country, and we are duty-bound to ensure that this resource is safeguarded from dilapidation and maintained for our future generations. Let us all harmonize our efforts to make of this bill an effective legislative tool to combat IUU fishing, protect and conserve our marine ecosystems and endangered marine species, while maximizing economic benefits for the country and ensure food security for the population. Monsieur le Président, je suis convaincu que cette loi répondra aux futurs défis auxquels tous les acteurs du secteur de la pêche devront faire face, tout en harmonisant les nombreuses dimensions interdépendantes de ce secteur. Comme je viens de le dire, j'espère que l'opposition, surtout, sera en mesure de contribuer de façon constructive dans les débats à venir. Mr. Speaker, sir, this bill will obviously propel our fisheries sector to new horizons, be it at the national, regional, and international levels. Let's act upon this window of opportunity to strengthen such an important economic pillar further, whilst bringing more accountability and transparency by using good governance principles. With these words, Mr. Speaker, sir, I now commend the bill to the House.
Seconded. Honourable members, I'll suspend the sitting for half an hour.